David, thank you. Okay, so just to bring you into the discussion where we're up to, since you guys missed the first 2 minutes, we're holding lesson 6 tonight, the final lesson of the course, and this tonight is going to bring home the complete picture of meditation within Judaism. Everything we've spoken about tonight now has been meditation within our minds. Very little action, focus, not focus, we haven't been really talking about action. Using our minds to control our thoughts, to control our feelings, so on and so forth. Tonight we're going to be going the other way around and focusing on action and appreciating that within Judaism, actions themselves carry a meditative quality. Yeah, that's what we just catching you guys up. That's where we're up to. So we're holding exercise 6.1, page 182, and we're ranking 1 to 5 how important these things rank. So Matthias, you put action number 5, okay? Anything rank lower there? Lower.
Where's mindful awareness? Like kavanah?
That's being, awareness, meditation, kavanah, everything we've really been speaking about, talking about.
I suppose faith maybe 3 or 4, and values 4 or 5.
Okay. Anyone argue? I kind of laid it down already, saying that action is way up there within Judaism. So yes.
Just from my own experience, I would have put actions being the lowest.
The lowest.
Yeah.
Okay. So, this is what you just said is in terms of action being the lowest. Let's take a look. What is Judaism's perspective on action? So page 183, text 1. Eden, you lead us.
Just the one sentence.
That's it.
The essential thing is not study, but deed.
So here, you have it laid out that within Judaism, there's an enormous action, focus on action. And this is really, I think, how we began the course, the first night of the course, we began kind of with a question saying, meditation within Judaism. Judaism doesn't seem to be a meditative religion. It seems to be a much more action-based religion. Rituals. I mean, let's just think about the amount of actions we're familiar with within Judaism. Shabbos, kosher, whether people are following them or not following them, whether they're practicing or not practicing. Judaism, we know 613 mitzvahs. There's so many actions that to be a Torah-based Jew, one should be doing, right? So it's enormous amount of focus and action. So we actually began lesson 1 when we started saying meditation within Judaism. What place does that have? And now we're after 5 lessons. We're at the place where we realize, yes, meditation has a huge place within Judaism. So now the question is, how does that get reconciled with the concept that Judaism places an enormous focus on action? And it takes us to an important discussion. This is the question I'll put forward on page 184. Ian, you want to read for us?
Yeah.
Read for us.
Jewish law requires that.
Where are you? 184? What is a mitzvah? Oh, yeah, that's all.
Yes, you want to write it in. It's a mitzvah for a Jew to hear the shofar sounded on Rosh Hashanah, but a particular Jewish couple are unaware this obligation of this obligation and intend to simply to go for a stroll. They happen to pass a synagogue, and by a stroke of providence, the shofar is sounded. Just at that moment, it's a plaintive wail is heard by the couple on the street. Have they fulfilled their mitzvah of hearing the shofar?
Okay,
yes.
So let's just, what the question is, they're going for a walk, they have no idea it's Rosh Hashanah even. And here, they walk past the synagogue, the shofar's being blown. I'll give you another example. Someone's sitting down to have Friday night, having a beautiful candlelit dinner. And they lit the candles. not intending it for Shabbos candles. But sure enough, they're sitting having Friday night dinner. Have they fulfilled the mitzvah of Shabbos candles? In this instance, has this couple fulfilled the mitzvah of hearing the shofar? Edit.
No,
No. Reason?
because volition is important, I'm guessing. Is that?
You're saying they didn't even, there was no...
The intention behind it is kind of what makes it meditative, I'm guessing.
So you're saying there has to be there has to be intention in order for the mitzvah to be considered a mitzvah. Yeah, you were saying yes.
Yeah, well, I think that if they've heard it and they've been aware that they've heard it, then it's done something to it, then it's done what it's supposed to do. It's called them back to where they were strolling away from. So basically, it's done a bit of action, and it's made them think a bit of faith, hasn't it? You know, because it has. They didn't walk back.
So you're saying the action itself has an effect on the individual who's performing the action,
yes,
even if it didn't intend to do it with a specific purpose.
and it brings you to, it brings you to realize that there's something there. So, and if you're a human being, as we all are, you stop and you think, oh, what is that? And then you think, and then you think, oh, well, I'm Jewish, that's my faith, and that's it. That's why I feel this way.
So we've got top students here, because the truth is, Ian and Ian's opinions are in fact the opinions of some of the greatest scholars in the Talmud. The Talmud debates this very question. Does a mitzvah, thank you, does a mitzvah require intention or not? Meaning to say, if a person goes ahead and turns out they perform the mitzvah, not intending to do so, is intention a fundamental part of what a mitzvah is all about? And as we're going to explore this, we're going to come to understand that really, in order to do a mitzvah, it has to be fueled by a mindful approach. We're going to come to discover. Second of all is, we're going to come to discover that the mitzvah, act of the mitzvah itself is, by its very nature, the actual act is itself a meditation. Now, what does that mean? Let's do that examples. Okay? So, let's take a look at the intent required. What is the resolution of that debate between these two great scholars? Now, please resolve for us.
To fulfill a mitzvah obligation, we must actively intend to observe that mitzvah. Therefore, if we observe a mitzvah unwittingly or for a purpose other than to perform a mitzvah, we have not fulfilled the mitzvah at all. Some Torah authorities disagree and opine that mitzvot do not require intent and are fulfilled even when performed unwittingly. However, the final law sides with the former opinion.
Okay. So this, what Nell, you just read was from the Code of Jewish Law, which is taking the summaries of discussion of Talmud and presenting them to us. So here we saw there's two opinions, but when it comes to practice, when it comes to the resolution of that, the resolution is that we actually do say, mitzvahs tzrichas kavanah, a mitzvah does need intention in order to be fulfilled. So you need to have, yes, in those instances, they would technically not have, they need to be basic intention, the most basic form of kavanah. I needed to have in mind that I was now fulfilling a mitzvah by doing this action. If I didn't, so already we're seeing that an action, the action is not enough. The whole concept that a mitzvah is an action, which is just a raw, dry action, well, straight away we see no. It has to have intent in that action. Otherwise, you actually haven't fulfilled the mitzvah. There are some exceptions. Interesting exception is charity. If a person actually, let's say, drops money and completely unwittingly a poor person picks up that money, he didn't want, he had no intention of giving charity, he has fulfilled the mitzvah of charity. Why? Because someone else has benefited. That's a mitzvah where someone else is benefiting through your mitzvah. The practical outcome of the mitzvah took place, irrelevant of your intention, that you've made a difference. And that would be an example where mitzvah doesn't have that cover. But generally speaking, I'm going to try to follow along with these slideshows. I'm not usually so good at following along. Where are we up to here? So we've done that. Has the mitzvah been fulfilled? No intention plus action, or intention plus action. purpose is beyond the behavior. That's where we're at. Okay? Okay. So
But they all add up to giving the mitzvah. They all add, whether you do it intentionally or unintentionally, it all adds up to giving the mitzvah. So that's where I think somewhere within deep, whether you know it or not, somewhere deep within you, there is faith. As was one of the.
You want to just repeat that again?
Whether you do, whether you intend to do an action for a mitzvah or whether you do it unintentionally, somehow that's to do with the question about faith, isn't it? Because inside you have faith. So you do something, and that's because you believe in God or you believe in doing good. So it works both ways. It's a double edge. It's not just one. You can't say, oh, I've given £1 million to a charity and there was an action and I did it. It's a lovely mitzvah. Or you could see something in the street, as you say, you could drop something, or you could just pass somebody that you didn't think you could pass, and you could give them £1 or £5 or something.
Okay. So what you're saying is true, and really we're going to discover that there's layers to performance. There's layers in terms of the action and the kavanah, the intention that we view within the mitzvah that's performed.
But can I ask a question? Does mitzvah mean honor?
Okay.
It's an honor.
So that's actually exactly where I want to go. What is a mitzvah all about? And really to understand what, if a mitzvah needs intention or doesn't need intention, we really need to get around and say, what is a mitzvah? What's the point of a mitzvah? Is a mitzvah an action like a checklist action, or is it something else? Now, what do you know as a mitzvah? Anyone?
Shabbat.
Not an example of mitzvah. What does mitzvah mean? What is a mitzvah?
Commandment.
Let's look at the word. Mitzvah means a commandment. Okay, who's excited to do mitzvahs? Commandments. Who's excited? Someone last time someone commanded you around. Were you interested?
Not so much.
Not so much. Right? Okay. Anyone else? A good deed. Often translated as a good deed. The truth is, both of these don't really demonstrate the full extent of what mitzvah is. Because a good deed is, why should not eating pork be considered a good deed? Say, maybe for the pig it's a good deed, but for the person not eating pork, why is that considered a good deed? So it doesn't add up. Commandments, like we said, it doesn't really demonstrate the depth of what a mitzvah is all about. So if we want to look at what really a mitzvah is all about, let's take a look at text 3, page 186. And I'll read it. The word mitzvah means a connection. As in the Aramaic mean the term savta, attach, join. One who performs a mitzvah bonds with God's very self, for God is the issuer of that command. Continue on page 187. This is the significance of our sage's statement. The reward of a mitzvah is the mitzvah. The bonding of the mortal who performs the commandment with the infinite God who issued the commandment is itself the greatest reward. This is a famous line. The reward of the mitzvah is the mitzvah itself. What does that mean? It means that the connection that's been established through a mitzvah itself is the reward of the mitzvah. That's what a mitzvah is. A mitzvah is a connection. Now, just let's unpack that a little bit. We are mortal human beings. We are finite human beings. We want to connect with God. There's only one way that's possible. Not by being as good as we'll be as people. We can be the best humans being possible. We're still going to be human beings. We're going to still be finite beings. The only way to truly connect with God is if God initiates that. And God says, hey, guys, I want you to do this for me. Then God's created that bridge, so to speak, where we can now do something which is actually going to have that bonding effect by us fulfilling God's will. And that's a tremendous thing. And really, all in terms of understanding what a mitzvah is, the model of a relationship husband and wife, which is actually what's often used in the Torah to just demonstrate what a mitzvah is and what's the relationship between us and God. A relationship in husband and wife is precisely this. I don't know if anyone ever seen the well-known book. It's called Love Languages. No one ever heard of it? 5 love languages. So my sister was once very into it. She was really excited about it. Anyways, it's a good book, and I've never read through the book, but I read like the core idea of the book, and basically it's like this: in relationships, we all have our unique way of expressing our love. Some people in a relationship, it's there through the through physical intimacy or physical closeness. That's where they. Some people it's through emotional, whatever it is. Some people through gestures. Well, there's also a concept of service, where we are able to be there for someone else and fulfill someone else's help someone else's
and their happiness.
Bring about someone that has certain needs, certain wants, to create that service, that space where we're servicing them and their that's a big part of a relationship. In a certain sense, you could say that God's love language is mitzvahs. God is saying, I want you to do this. And by doing this, we are creating a bond with God, which is tremendously powerful. It's an incredible idea just to think about. Suddenly, a mitzvah is not something we should walk around and it's an opportunity. This is the greatest opportunity. I have an opportunity to now do something which is going to take me to an entirely different, transcendent place than me in my own right would ever be able to attain. God's kind of throwing us a line and saying, hey guys, jump up on this, which is yeah.
But is that when, for instance, when in shul, if you're called up to hold a Torah or to say a bracha or something, the bimah, that is a mitzvah because you're connecting with God. Is that's always considered? You think that is a mitzvah because you're being asked to do something to connect with God's prayer or whatever it is.
So, blessing of the Torah would be a mitzvah. I'm saying specific, when we're talking about mitzvahs, we're talking about the specific thing that the Torah ordains as being the 613 specific acts which we fulfill as mitzvahs. There's many things within Judaism which are customs, which are important, but they wouldn't necessarily take on this dimension of mitzvah. A mitzvah is studying Torah is a mitzvah. What we're doing right now is a mitzvah. Absolutely.
And akbar is an honor, like you were saying before.
It's an honor.
Not a mitzvah.
It's a mitzvah per se, no. It wouldn't
But
be a mitzvah
it is
per
an
se.
honor if you're called up to bless the Torah.
It certainly is.
Yes, because then it's your direct connection with the Torah and with God, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So you're honored that you've been asked to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you're absolutely right. So once we have this understanding of the mitzvahs, suddenly it really transforms about everything about understanding how a mitzvah should be done. Because we tell the story about this guy who he keeps on missing his wife's special days. Birthday, he misses it, he misses his anniversary, he misses everything, he misses it. Eventually it comes. Brilliant idea. I'm going to pull the florist. And I'm going to give him all the dates. And he's going to know. At birthday, there'll be a thing of flowers. Wedding anniversary, thing of flowers. Mother's Day, everything's taken care of. One day he comes up. He sees it's the random day. There's a bouquet of flowers on the table. He's like, why is there a bouquet of flowers today? A bouquet of flowers today. And that was busted. Because what does this demonstrate? That the bouquet of flowers wasn't really an expression of his emotions and his involvement in this relationship and his desire to be close to his wife. It was purely checklist. Okay, I got to do this. Okay. And I'm saying, I remember growing up, there's Mother's Day, there's Father's Day, there's, and so making fuss for Mother's Day. My mother was like, nonsense. Every day is Mother's Day. That was her line. I'm sure this, I don't know. But every day is Mother's Day. And the truth is, this because that kind of, you need the birthday company, the card company to tell you that today you're supposed to honor your mother. In a certain sense, that cheapens the whole thing.
You should honor your mother every day.
And you should honor your mother every day. So when a mitzvah is done, and when a mitzvah is done, with this mindset, it's a radically different thing. just like even just an example, saying, my kid has had something on his hand, right? So I went over to him and I brushed his hand to take it off. Okay. That same action could have been a caress. It all depends what you're putting into that. Either I was just getting dirt off it, or that's exactly what we're talking about. We're talking about a mitzvah being the transformative connection that it can be, and which it is, to a great extent, is determined on the mindset that we go into doing it. Where do we lay the mindset of how we go into doing mitzvah? You tell me. Where do we lay the mindset? Built into Judaism, there's a place where we lay that mindset, where we pause before doing mitzvah. What's that called? Last week we spoke about blessings before eating. That's one course. Before eating, mindful eating. There's mindfulness before doing mitzvah. There's a concept of blessings before mitzvahs. And every mitzvah has a blessing. You know what we say in that blessing? Let's take a look. Text number 4. Nathaniel?
This is the inner significance of the blessing recited prior to performing the mitzvah. Blessed are you who sanctified us, Kiddishanu, with his mitzvah. In Hebrew, the term Kiddush means both sanctification and betrothal. Through performing a mitzvah, we are bound to God like a man betrothing his wife for the sake of being intimately united with each other. As the Torah states regarding the bonding of the first human couple, he shall cleave to his wife and they shall become one flesh. When we study the Torah or perform a commandment, we achieve a similar, indeed, an infinitely deeper royal unity between our soul along with all of its elements and God's absolutely infinite light.
Okay, so this is a very interesting idea. Actually, a bride and groom stand under the wedding canopy. They actually, the line that they say, which actually binds them together, is Asher Kiddush. They say Hareat Mekudesheti, which is you are like betrothed. And that's the same expression which we say before in the blessing, the text of the blessing, before doing the mitzvah. We're recognizing the fact we're about to enter into a kind of space of an enormous, incredible bond, an intimate bond with God. And that's what this performance of the mitzvah is. So we have that opportunity to pause. It's built into it. That's really what we put in, is what the mitzvah will be. That's the meaning of it. So we've moved from the place of recognizing that just technically a mitzvah needs to have feeling, just because you need to be aware you're doing the mitzvah, basic level of kavanah, to a place where we realize that the recognition of the power of the mitzvah is fundamental for us to be able to really experience what the mitzvah is and the power that the mitzvah carries with it. There's a beautiful parable, and this, in a certain sense, for me, this brings out the idea of how often people aren't doing it in the right way, and really the way we should be doing it. The guy's walking down, someone may have heard this from me, guys walking down an alleyway. In England, there are really alleyways in the States, and they're all behind the houses, but the alleyways are going to throw their trash and all kinds of stuff going on there. Anyways, so there's a book lying on the floor, no cover. Like, I like to read. Let's see what this book is. He picks up the book and he takes it home, and the first night he goes reading chapter 1, how you should dress. He's like, okay, interesting lifestyle book, and it's like strange skin tight clothing and like pointy shoes. Like, this is just ridiculous. Night number 2, chapter 2, and he starts reading, and it's like a diet you should eat. You should only eat proteins and all this, and like this is a little bit more bizarre. And night number 3 is like last chapter. I'm trying, you know how it is with books, you have to read half the book till you realize you're wasting your time reading the book. So the night number 3, exercises, and everything's like weird stretches. He's like, what rubbish, who lives their life? Chucks the book out of his window. Sure enough, There's a guy who comes and sees it, he's like, this book, can I have it? Pleasure, I just wasted my time, but I can spare you, don't waste your time on this book. No, you know this book, this is amazing. I've been looking for this book everywhere, it's out of print. What do you mean? He says, this book, I'm a ballet dancer. This book is the manual for the best ballet dancer that you can be. And then it clicked. Because what does he realize? He realized he's seeing all the do this, do that, but he didn't realize he's primed now to dance. Go ahead, dance. You're primed. Without that, it's just a question of, and that's really what we're talking about here. The mitzvah is go ahead and dance. But in order to bring that into the mitzvah, we need to be mindful. Otherwise, we're not going to bring that into the mitzvah at all. And the beautiful story happened with the Baal Shem Tov. After the reward of the mitzvah is the mitzvah. Catch up, the reward of the mitzvah is the relationship. God's desire for us to make, God's desire for the mitzvah makes us relevant. That's what we spoke about, the connection. Deeper feeling, deeper impression. Okay. Blessing moment of meditation, sanctification, betrothal. This is just going to be a little recap for us. And let's just, one further point on this is, some of the story of the Baal Shem Tov. So the Baal Shem Tov one day walks into a synagogue. And what does he see in the synagogue? He says, I can't go into the shul. The synagogue is, I can't go in. So what's the problem? So he said, this synagogue, it's full of prayers. I can't go in. There's no space for me. So they thought that Baal Shem Tov was complimenting. And what really the Baal Shem Tov was saying is that prayers aren't supposed to stay in the synagogue. They're supposed to go up on high. But in order to get them on high, often in Jewish mysticism, it talks about what are the wings that takes, there's the body and the soul of a mitzvah. The body is the action. The soul is the intention. And the soul is the wings which take the action up. And these prayers, lots of people have prayed, but there was no intention in the prayers. The shul was full of dead prayers. Okay, we'll pause here. We're going to join Rabbi Professor Label as he leads us on a meditation on this topic. So get comfortable, get into your meditation zone. Stop the sharing and I'll reshare it again.
Are we acts of refinement?
David, you're asking something?
Sorry, I thought maybe I was dreaming. I thought I heard you ask me to read the next.
No, not yet. We're getting to you still. We're gonna just catch up on the meditation on what we've been discussing up till now. Without further ado, direct your attention to the screen.
Pleasant thoughts can instill joy. Your imagination can conjure up many beautiful things, and yet it can't match reality. The actual experience in real time, in real life, surpasses imagination. Gently close your eyes and become aware of how powerful your imagination is. Conjure up a picture of yourself flying through the air with ease, comfortably, like a bird. The imagination allows you places and experiences that are beyond the laws of nature, because imagination comes from a very profound spiritual source. Bring to mind someone you love profoundly, a child, a spouse, a good friend, whichever. Become aware of their absence. They are away from you, perhaps on a holiday, perhaps living in another city. In your mind, give them a hug, embrace them. How does that feel? Doesn't it feel wonderful? And yet, if you were to meet them personally, one-on-one, and embrace them in reality, would not that be even much more powerful? That's why when people are absent and our connectedness is breached, we yearn and want their presence. And when they are with us, we can create that presence, the wonderfulness of being truly one. Imagine the thought of doing a mitzvah, saying a nice word to someone who needs encouragement. And yet, all the good intentions don't measure up to actually saying it in real time, in real life. When we do a mitzvah in real time and real life, we embrace Hashem. We touch what we call atzmos, the very essence of godliness. Make a personal commitment after this session to experience an embrace of God through doing a very real mitzvah.
Hey. Okay. Let me just share it again here. Okay. So far, so good?
Mhm.
Okay. Now, we're going to take it a little bit step further. Until now, everything we've spoken about is really about still our minds and what we're putting them in, what the action means, and what we're putting into the action. But really going even further, in a sense, understanding what the mitzvah is, we'll discover that the mitzvah itself is a form of meditation. But instead of until now, we've been discussing the meditations as they've been still until now, having discussed the meditations and becoming meditations changing us through our thoughts, through our mindfulness. Now we're going to discover the change happening not through our minds, but through our actions. Our actions change us. Let's see how, in the words of Nachmanides, how he describes what the purpose of a mitzvah is. Text 5, 189, Matthias, can you read us?
Acts of refinement. Moshe ben Nachman. Our sages state that the mitzvot were given only to refine the person. Midrash Bereshit Rabbah. Purpose of the mitzvot is not to benefit God, but rather to benefit humankind, to keep them safe from harm, to shield them from negative beliefs and base character traits, to remind them of the miracles and wonders of the Creator, and to help them know God. The Midrash employs the term tzaref for refining, which usually refers to refining silver. This informs us that the mitzvot refine mortals in a similar way to the way a silversmith refines silver. Silver refinement is a purposeful task done for the sake of removing all impurities. Similarly, the mitzvot are designed to remove every harmful belief from our hearts, to inform us of the truth, and to enable us to be constantly mindful of the truth.
Okay. This is Nachmanides. Let's continue and take a look at Maimonides and how he also speaks about the same idea, taking a little bit further. Text 6. Luba, you want to read for us text 6? Are you able?
Yes, I am.
We're on page 190.
Yes, I see. Each of the 613 commandments exist either to communicate a correct view or to dismiss an unhealthy view, to communicate a rule of justice or to ward off an injustice, to endow people with a noble moral quality or to warn them against a negative moral quality.
So here we have two of the greatest Jewish sages laying out that really that's exactly what a mitzvah is. A mitzvah itself is an action which is supposed to bring us to a certain awareness. It's supposed to change us through the very performance of the mitzvah. We're supposed to bring us to a certain place. So until now we're talking about changing through our minds. This is changing through our actions. The action itself carries a meditative element to it. This is like on the slide here. Mitzvahs require meditation. Now we're switching to discovering that mitzvahs themselves are the meditation. Okay? And that when we realize that what we're talking about here is we're talking about this is some of the elements that we just read in the what's his name. They're all for our benefit. It's for our benefit. So whereas the first element we spoke about in the mitzvah was really the connection with God, here we're talking about the mitzvah itself is a meditation that can change us. Now, how does that work? How exactly does the action change us? This takes us to text 7, which is a fundamental concept again within Judaism. This is from the Sefer Achilles, which is one of the fundamental works on mitzvahs. And Gabriel, you want to read for us? Text 7, page 191.
Sure, can you hear me correctly? And now, my child, and I will enlighten you to appreciate the Torah and its precepts. You are influenced by your behavior, and your feeling and thoughts consistently follows your actions, whether for the positive or the negative. Your actions have the power to overcome the negative inclination within you, since the attitudes of your hearts are influenced by your behaviors.
The attitudes of your heart are influenced by behaviors. How often do we think that if I feel something, then I will go and do that? But if I don't feel it, or then that thing is distant from me. There's a guy who comes to the rabbi and says, "Rabbi, I don't do a lot of mitzvahs. I don't really practice much because I don't believe in God." So the rabbi responds to him, "Well, maybe do some mitzvahs, and then you'll start believing in God." That's what a mitzvah is. It's got that meditative quality to it, that the action itself, just look at the end. Your heart, the attitudes of your heart are influenced by your behaviors. So what comes first? Is it that heart feeling or is it the action feeling? There's a beautiful story that took place once with Lubavitcher. There was a woman came to the Rebbe who was struggling. She was struggling with a lot of self-centeredness. And she had gone to different gurus or schools of thought to try kind of pull her away from the self-centeredness kind of mindset that she had. And she comes to the Rebbe, she says, Rebbe, what can you tell me? How can I kind of shift my focus away from being so self-centered and more towards, kind of person? The Rebbe said, you study with other women? Yeah. She was in seminary, she was in a university setting. When you take lunch, before you take lunch, serve them, make sure they all eat. She's like, we're talking about, give me some kind of mind practice that I should do. And I said, this is what you should do. Which is a very powerful recognition, where when we behave in a certain way, that itself changes how we feel, changes how we approach something. And that's exactly what we're talking about, that mitzvahs have that ability. Where this exercise 6.3, page 191, very famous TED talk, which is basically one of the most watched TED talks, is this discussion, exactly this idea, where slouch your shoulders and frown for 10 seconds, how do you feel? Stand tall and upright with a wide smile and arms open wide for 10 seconds, how do you feel? It's almost like a hack to the system, because it's, sometimes we just changing, we've spoken about changing our thoughts, changing our feelings. This is an interesting concept. We change our actions, change our behaviors. The behaviors themselves can change how we feel and how we relate to a concept. This is integral within mitzvahs. And let's go together to page 193. 193, we've got 5 mitzvahs. What would you consider maybe being the meditative agenda within charity, honoring your parents, observing Shabbos, Tefillin, and Mezuzah? 5 classic mitzvahs in Judaism. What is the meditative agenda? What are we supposed to be thinking about? What is the purpose of this mitzvah? Anyone want to weigh in here? Charity, what's it about?
Giving, helping.
Giving and helping, okay.
Seeing other people, get somewhere.
Okay, so it's about, it's a meditative practice. The mitzvah for us is about making us more giving. Okay, let's honor. Anyone want to add anything to that? Honoring your parents.
Most important.
I
would say the most important.
Most important. So what's the message of the mitzvah of honoring your parents?
Having respect, having love, and wanting to learn from them.
Okay.
Acknowledging that they created life. They are the source of your being. Without them.
So what does that do for us?
In terms of, what do you mean by us? Like,
in terms of how's that going to change us as people when we're going and doing that mitzvah? What's that going to do to change us? How does that mitzvah change us? What is the meditation? What you're describing is spot on, but how's that going to change how we approach other situations in life, for example?
Both of these 2 examples are cultivating awareness in us that we are like that other things have contributed to our success. So for charity, it's like awareness and empathy for other people's needs, and for parents, it's awareness of sacrifices they made, and that we are part of like a community, I guess. So that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take a look at it. Text 10, page 195. Let's look at the honoring parents meditation. By the way, just an interesting point to point out. There's no mitzvah in the Torah to love your children.
Maybe they give you headaches, that's why.
There is a mitzvah in the Torah to honor your parents, because loving your children is natural.
there's not a mitzvah to love your parents either. It's just that you have to honor that they gave you life.
Absolutely.
But if they've been horrible parents,
But
you
it's
still recognize that they gave you life.
it's one
and
of
you
the 10
respect them.
commandments as well.
Right.
But not to love them, but to honor them. Yeah.
But surely honor.
I would say that, so then we should even say the same point that way around. There's no mitzvah to honor your children.
Yeah, exactly.
because that's a natural thing. Because honoring your parents is something that takes required strength. What is it? What's it about? Nell, you want to read for us? We're going to jump to
David hasn't read yet.
That's true. David hasn't read. I just thought.
And I know he was keen.
David, are you with us?
I'm with you. I'm with you.
Text 10, page 195.
The root of the commandment for an individual to honor their father and mother is that if it is fitting for a person to acknowledge and return kindness to those who provided goodness, and to avoid becoming a selfish, ingrate, and evil and repulsive attribute in the eyes of God and mortals alike. The mitzvah is designed to spur us to contemplate that our parents are the material cause of our existence in this world. It is therefore truly fitting to honor them in every way and to provide them with every benefit that is within our ability, for they brought us into this world and also toiled on our behalf in numerous ways when we were young.
Beautiful. So very much in line with what you said. No? Honoring your parents, the meditation that we go into, and when we do the mitzvah honoring your parents, it's all about, it's very similar to what you said, to developing a gratitude to those that have brought us to where we've gotten to what we've gotten. The mitzvah brings us, changes our approach, it changes our behaviors, it changes our thinking. It ingrains within us a certain attitude of gratitude. Charity ingrains within us a kindness, ingrains with us mercy. That's why you always find, when it comes to Jewish practice, charity is one of the kindness is ingrained in us through the mitzvah of charity. You do charity, you become kind. When you do kind actions, you will be kinder, like we spoke about a moment before. Observing Shabbos, the meditation within that is, what would you say?
Stopping, resting.
Stopping and resting, not getting carried away maybe with the rat race of life, and therefore Shabbos forces us to that, okay? And also obviously taking that a little bit further, recognizing that God created the world in 6 days, rested on the seventh day. That the gift of recognizing the world is, not just the jungle, it's God's world. God created the world, and part of the rest and work element of the balance within that. So Shabbos really demonstrates that, brings that. And the last level, we won't talk about tefillin, even though tefillin itself is all about being mindful. And tefillin is all about the mind. You put the tefillin on the head, you put the tefillin on the heart, kind of aligning yourself. Your mind and your heart should be aligned towards actions. That's exactly what the mitzvah of tefillin is all about. We put on tefillin, we get aligned. It's like, you go for a wheel alignment. That's your alignment every single day. A Jewish person aligns himself. And then the mezuzah is a fascinating one. Mezuzah sits on the door. Have you seen people kiss the mezuzah when they walk into a room? What's up with that? Why are they kissing the mezuzah?
It's a threshold.
That's a
Threshold.
threshold. What do you mean?
Well, you take account that think about God as you enter different space.
Absolutely. So often people think it's about, there's a holy object, I got to give it a kiss. But the reality is we don't go around kissing all the holy objects. It's about interacting with the mezuzah. The mezuzah is there. It's a recognition that I am not alone. God's in my environment. God's with me. And he's also, there's a certain, it brings holiness into my environment. So these mitzvahs themselves are meditations, which is a very profound idea in terms of how we should be looking at what a mitzvah is. So it's not about only what we're putting into the mitzvah, it's actually what the mitzvah itself does and the power that the mitzvah carries with it. And we're not going to do these all inside. I'd like to now jump to the takeaway from tonight. And let's just recognize that as Jews, we're very lucky there's a quote from Jonathan Sachs, exactly this idea. We're very lucky that as Jews, the mitzvahs are an enormously powerful way of being the best people we can be. God's given us mitzvahs for our benefit, to really transform ourselves through those actions. One thing we have to always remember, though, is that's not the full picture of mitzvahs, because then it becomes like, oh, I think I'm okay, I'm kind enough, I don't need to do any mitzvahs relating to kindness, because obviously that's one element of mitzvahs. So the mitzvahs are multifaceted, they're multi-layered, and like we spoke before, a mitzvah is fulfilling God's will. It's a chance to connect to God, which is taking that relationship even further. So these are all elements within mitzvahs. These are meditations we bring into mitzvah. And it's something to think about. The next time we are doing a mitzvah, the next time we have an opportunity to do a mitzvah, jump on that mitzvah and use that opportunity to meditate. What's the power of the mitzvah that really can be achieved through its performance? Okay, page 199 in our student books. We're not going to go through it, but I just want to point it out. Is Jewish mindful awareness practices. And if you look in your it takes us through our day. We've got 3 periods in your day. You've got Modani, how to wake up in the morning. We've got the afternoon prayer, which we spoke about quite a lot last week, stopping in the middle of your day and kind of creating a space in the middle of everything of pause, and then the nighttime Shema, preparing for the next day, taking account of the entire day and what took place throughout that entire day. And these 3, I would encourage you to read through them. These are, we call them Jewish mindful awareness practices. Definitely things that the more we take on these mitzvahs and we find ourselves practicing these things, these are things which have power to really enhance our life and bring us to an enormous place. Yes.
So the mincha, that's a mitzvah for men, right? Women don't do mincha.
Lesson.
Women can do mincha, absolutely. They can. Usually married women don't do mincha, they would. Generally speaking, women don't have to.
What's more, is that arvit?
Arvit. Arvit is the one thing which was women never accepted upon themselves as an obligation. Mincha they do. Generally speaking, the set times of prayers for a woman is less less strict than for men. You would say the concept of prayer absolutely, but the set times of prayers are less. Although many people do shabbos and for not married.
So for sure, there's at least one mitzvah that women don't do. So which shall remain nameless. But like, how many? What's the count of mitzvot that women follow versus men?
There's 14 mitzvahs that men do that women don't.
Okay.
Generally speaking, those it boils down to things which are time-bound, positive mitzvahs.
Okay.
So an entire discussion for itself, but the general understanding, we touched on this in some of our classes, and what is the discussion of what's about, but because of a woman's role often in being the primary carer for her children and the family, so the Torah didn't set it up in such a way that her religious responsibilities would contradict her familial responsibilities, and certain time-bound things don't apply. But yeah, that's usually how it is. Okay. Any questions? And then we're going to wrap up tonight's lesson, and then we're going to wrap up the course. Yes, Lee.
So the overall effect of mitzvah and being aware of mitzvahs and the things you do is to make you a better person.
So that we saw as being an element of a mitzvah. That's the mitzvah as itself as being a meditative practice. Absolutely. It's got that meditative practice element to it.
In a way, so it's a teaching as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I like that story with the rabbi, because I think it really brings out, you'll start having faith. The mitzvah has that element to it. And sometimes wait. It's really, it's so often in life where we see we start doing, that's really when the change happens, when the magic happens. Okay, let's just sum up lesson 6. And then we're going to have a quick review quiz. Okay? Hope you've all been listening. And then we're going to, I want to hear from you about just wrapping up this course. Okay, so take a look at
Lesson 6. Mind and Matter. The influences of meditation on practice and of practice on meditation. 1. Although Judaism emphasizes action over all else, the active performance of the mitzvot have a meditative quality too. 2. Mitzvot, as acts of service to God, bridge the divide between mortal mankind and the infinite God, and mitzvot serve to establish a relationship with God. 3. This meditative intent that motivates mitzvah performance is what makes them meaningful. 4. Mitzvot also personally benefit the person performing them. 5. Our actions and behaviors shape our mindsets and attitudes. 6. Each mitzvah serves as a meditative function to shape our moral and spiritual perspectives and to develop positive attitudes.
Okay, that's a summary of tonight. Now, I'd like to give you a little quiz, okay? Just get us moving a little bit. So, the way it's going to go, who's done cahoots here before? You've done that before? Yeah? Okay, so we're going to do cahoots. So you need your phone. Take on your phone.
It's like quiz thing.
And
Do you want to just team up with me?
Yeah.
Okay. Not at all, because I need you.
yeah, you got your phone?
Yeah.
This is what you're going to. Everyone, you can go to kahoot.it. Are you guys at home seeing what I'm showing here? Well, I don't think you are.
How is it spelled?
Oh,
you get
I see.
So
So
we-
is this a new thing that's just been taken out of somebody's?
Is-
Some
How are you spelling
Oh, that's
it?
what.
Ethan, how are you spelling
Is it
it?
CAH?
On the screen, let's see it. Everyone at home, are you there? You see us? You with us?
Yes.
Okay, so you're going to.
What's our nickname going to be?
Wait a second.
What's our nickname going to be? Ian. Again. Could have done it.
So you're going to kahoot.it and putting in that game pin, which is at the top.
Okay, fine.
We'll have these four and we have to press.
Is there anything? Whatever you want.
You get, once you get it right,
You're on your own. Okay.
so
This is,
you have to press one.
we got our players in. People at home, how are you guys doing? Okay, I see everyone in the room is on. It was. Hey, Gabriel, are you on? Funky G. David?
Yeah, that's me.
Us?
I'm with you.
You're with us. Are you on the have you signed in yet?
Yeah.
That's on our quiz.
We're missing Luba.
It is there. Okay, I see. Luba, I guess you
Yes, I'm connecting.
it's connected. Okay. So as soon as we're ready, let's start.
There we go.
Okay. You guys ready? So now, every question will be a question. Read the question, and then use your phone. Have 4 options. Answer the question correctly. This is a review of our course. Ready?
Yeah.
Ready, set, go. You get marked for points. The quicker you answer, correct answers, come on top. 1, 2, 3, go. I will stop. What do I do? Okay, there's a lot. Who was the first Jew to meditate? Okay, three correct answers then. Let's move on.
Yeah, it was right. So we got.
We're going to see a tally of the score now.
Is it being covered by the
Yes. Now, leading the pack, Matt's close behind Ian and okay. Are you ready? Next question.
You got 4G.
What does hitbonenut mean? Well done. 7 out of 7. Well done, everyone. Okay, hitbonenut is cognitive meditation. Point tally. 3. We can shape the reality outside of us through.
The first option is for you.
Positivity meditation. That's on fire. Well done, Matthias. Okay, are you guys? Some of you haven't gotten off.
The scores aren't updating.
Scores aren't updating.
It's not working. Why have 0? 2 good answers.
What's going on here with the scores?
I'm not sure.
Hey,
Maybe it
Yeah,
will
that's
tally
fine.
at the end. I don't think it's updated.
I'm still creative.
hey, what's going on?
I get scammed.
No. Okay.
You can have
4 out of 3.
few seconds of
Four.
this.
How many locations around the world are learning the exact same JLI course as we have been? Trivia.
Yeah. Oh, I got it right.
400, 600 locations around the world are doing exactly very cool. You can travel. I don't know what's going on with the scores.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm sure you guys will
Yeah.
be breaking the bank now. But every part of our lives can be sacred because
That's right.
answer all of the above. Well done. Yes.
Which one? It was all of the above.
So strange, wasn't it? Really? Yeah. Never happened to me before. The 3 garments of the soul are thought, speech, and action. No, I think you're still on 5.
Five
I
correct
think we're-
answers.
Jewish meditation is primarily
numbers are now updating them.
Hey?
Oh yeah,
The
the numbers are
now
updating.
updating.
Oh, they are up there?
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's see.
Oh.
I see. So it's only
It seems like it just took it in as question number 2.
that's good for us because we got loads wrong.
8 out of 13. The question is the points here. In which city does available the presenter, the meditation videos live? Access. That's great. Melbourne, Australia. Yeah.
Oh, you
He's
did
not
say
South
that.
African. I'm South African. He's an Aussie. Still updated or not? In order to invest meditative intent into a mitzvah, the rabbis instituted Alright, well done everyone. It's actually what we discussed tonight. That's the pause before. Okay, let's try and figure out the scores here. How can you change your eating to a sacred act? No updates yet. Which of the following rabbis were not quoted in this course? Ramat, Moshe Cordovero. I didn't know that either. Okay. According to Jewish mysticism, time is differentiated from time. So we spoke about it's not time is the breakdown of time is very precise based on the mystical thing. And finally, Aharon Chavim. I'm signing up for the next JLI course, Beyond Right, starting in May.
I don't know what I'm doing.
He said, are you signing up?
I'm very touched. That's it. Okay, well done. Are we going to have a tally here? Let's see. Odin. Well done, David. I think that's you. Round of applause. Well done, everyone. Okay.
Great.
Good, yeah,
Let's do it.
I've been using it for years.
You know, they actually just sold the company some kind of crazy numbers.
Yes, that one. Yes, that's what I said.
Yeah.
It was that one. Yes, and then yes.
Just to show you, I discovered like years ago, and like this cute little thing, and then like you discovered it's sold for like billions of crazy.
Well, everything sells some billions today. It's just
Okay. Without further ado, I just want to take a few minutes to just review and reflect. So we spent the last couple of weeks spending hours really talking about meditation and meditating. And we all obviously see things differently, and we all, I'm sure took something else different from this course. I know for myself, I gained a lot from preparing and spending the time going through all the materials to be able to share it with you. And I definitely found myself a lot more mindful throughout everything I was doing. And even though a lot of the things where I was familiar with, just the very process of framing it and recognizing it's so powerful. So I want to hear just literally 30 seconds, each of us, maybe we can share what you are going to take away. What for you was the takeaway, the powerful key point from the course that you're walking away with. We'll start with you, Ellen, you're sitting closest.
Yeah, I think for me, takeaway wise, Judaism has a lot more to it from a more spiritual place than I previously thought it had. And my respect for that side of the religion has increased a lot. And yeah, I think it's just to see the religion less as something other than me when I kind of think about these things. Yeah.
Because you also mentioned how you dabbled in Buddhism.
Yeah.
And this is okay. Ian, thank you for sharing.
Well, I've learned it's just widen my horizon of thoughts and everything, and to know that there is alleyways to everybody's way of life, not only the way of life we think, but also Judaism spreads out further, and also in a way is basic to many of the laws that countries have today, and many of the things come from Judaism, and which comes from, I suppose, as Yiddish would say, said.
Okay, so actually next course is going to be a lot on the beyond rights, the moral code. I don't remember exactly the title of the course. We're going to start that in May. He's got to keep posting details on it. Okay, so we'll touch on that. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Now,
for me, it was super interesting to see how meditation is woven through everything, and that actually you can be meditative in all of these different practices. And I've been resisting doing blessings around food, but that's something that I'm more aware of, and I'm beginning to crave doing those blessings around food. So that's also like a takeaway.
powerful. Okay, thank you for sharing. Nathaniel.
I think the part where you are more aware of the spiritual part of the mundane things that we do day to day.
Wow. Literally living deeper every single day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Difficult task though.
A difficult task, but yeah. Got
Work in progress throughout life.
absolutely. Matthias?
So I don't know. I mean, many things. I think I had sort of a vague awareness of a number of points in there, but relating and seeing really the sources was really interesting, and also gives me a good way of explaining that to my children as well. So, those references and sources.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Seeing how it's actually such a big part of within authentic Judaism.
And really not just Judaism, but really Hasidut.
Wow. Now I'm going to pause here for a second because I want to say a big thank you to Matthias, who he actually sponsored the course, and he sponsored it in honor of Rabbi. What's his name?
Shalom Arush Ben Yamna.
Shalom Ben Yamna.
Yeah.
Shalom Ben Yamna, Rabbi Arush, who is a big teacher of Torah and means a refuah shalema and complete recovery.
And has done a lot in terms of sort of publicizing his bodhidut, so that the practice that you talked about at the beginning.
Meditation specifically, exactly.
He wrote a whole book about it, how to pray by yourself, sort of. I think it means cyclical manner, right?
Right.
So yeah, encourage you to look at those sources as well. Very accessible as well.
What's his name again?
Rabbi Arush, Arush.
Do you know the name of his book?
The book is, I think one is the Garden of Prayer.
Thank you. So appreciate it. Let's move on to those at home. And Gabriel.
We were discussing about it with
We don't see Sobel, but we know she's there.
she's here. We just discussed it, and I think the main take for us was really the fact that it has that increase our awareness around the divine character of everything in existence in this world, and also as gave us more indication on how deeply connected meditation is with every mitzvot that a Jew is supposed to do on his daily life. So yeah, I think it's a mix of both.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Lubov, coming out of the darkness.
Someone mentioned hello. Someone mentioned Buddhist meditation. I was also much more familiar with that, and I learned a lot. And such a simple idea that you can change your state of mind by actually doing something is quite powerful.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah, changing our state of mind through our thoughts. That was the first lesson, and today we spoke about through actions. So yeah, thank you. I know something I've been aware of, but going through this process is definitely something I'm practicing a lot more, which is very cool. It's very empowering. And David, Acharon Chaviv, last but not least. The last is the most precious. You want to tell us?
I think it's really allowed me to become much more what's the word I'm looking for? I'm really open to the spiritual side of the religion. I didn't really appreciate how close all of this is to Kabbalah, which has always really interested me. So it's really got me open and thinking about it. And I think for me, like the big takeaway is I'm really thinking and being thoughtful around the meditation of Shabbat and that discipline of the week, Friday, sunset on Friday to sunset on Saturday is, for me, feels like such a great discipline that I'm really contemplating, trying to, can I integrate that into my life and into my family's life as well? That's the big thing for me, because that's a day. It's every week. It's a ritual, and it's really becoming appealing.
I totally agree with you. Shabbos is once you take Shabbos is something you'll never give up for anything. Amazing. Thank you for sharing that, and thank you all for joining. It's been a great learning journey for me, and like it says in, I think it's from Pirkei Avot, it's from the Talmud. It says, "Harbe lamadati mi rabbeisei." I learned a lot from my teachers. Mechaver, I learned a lot from my friends. Mostly learning from my students. And for me, that's been an experience. So thank you. It's been very enlightening. Bezrat Hashem, looking forward to continuing learning together in the future. Laila Tov. Thank you all for joining.
Thanks much.
All the best.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure.